During the Duel of the Fates, Qui-Gon is waiting patiently for the force field generator to turn off. He sits down and meditates while Maul paces around to get ready for the battle to begin. As the door opens, this time Qui-Gon does not hesitate, and he deals major blows to Maul. But Maul is able to put up a fight, even as Qui-Gon unleashes his flurry of blows. Qui-Gon gains a major advantage when Obi-Wan is finally able to step in and help him out. And Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon successfully end up defeating and arresting Maul. And in this timeline, Qui-Gon survives. Welcome everyone to What If Qui-Gon Survived the Phantom Menace. For the purposes of this story, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon are able to defeat Maul together in this timeline. Qui-Gon is able to hold his own against the devilish Sith Lord, but he is gravely injured until Obi-Wan gets through the plasma gates. They manage to disarm Maul, and since Obi-Wan didn't witness Qui-Gon's death, he doesn't lean into the dark side during their duel. Instead, they disarm Maul and take him prisoner. Anakin still destroys the droid control ship, and Naboo is liberated. Just like in the movie, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Qui-Gon return to the temple, this time having Maul in tow as a prisoner. When Qui-Gon arrives at the temple, they take him to the medbay, and he needs time to recover from his grievous injuries. In the temple medical center, Qui-Gon lies on a bed resting, as Yoda, Mace Windu, and Obi-Wan come in with the young Anakin to check on the wounded Jedi. "Your injuries, how are they, Master Qui-Gon?" Yoda inquires. "Nothing that the Force can't heal with time," Qui-Gon replies. "Still strong with Force, I see. That's a good sign." "Good to hear," Mace replies jokingly. Everyone is happy to see Qui-Gon being himself again, especially Anakin, who can't wait to begin his Jedi training. Master, I blew up the droid control ship. It was crazy. It was awesome," Anakin says excitedly, trying to cheer up Qui-Gon at the same time as bragging about his accomplishments. "Oh, did you now, Anakin? Well, we could really use those skills in the future," Qui-Gon chuckles, amused by the young boy's innocence. "How many times do you want me to do it?" Anakin asks. "A couple hundred more, maybe?" Mace intervenes. "Yeah, I could do that. I'll kick those droids' butts right now," Anakin replies with all seriousness. This causes another huge burst of laughter from the room. "Anakin, do not underestimate your enemy. A Jedi must be accurate and precise when estimating the strength of their opponent. You still have a long way to go, young Skywalker." Obi-Wan interjects with an impromptu lesson. As Obi-Wan lectures Anakin, Qui-Gon sits and marvels at the sight of his Padawan, now a master of a youngling. Qui-Gon has an idea and Yoda can sense it. "Hey, how about you two go practice some of those forms outside? We still have some business to attend to here with Qui-Gon," Mace says to Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan agrees and brings Anakin out of the room. As Anakin steps out, Qui-Gon watches them as they leave. "I know what you're thinking," Yoda says, "but far too young, the boy is." "I think this is just what he needs to begin the next step to become a Jedi Master," Qui-Gon says. "Master Qui-Gon, if the prophecy is true, Anakin could hold the fate of the universe in his hands. It's not some pet for you to teach your Padawan responsibility with. We need someone more experienced to take a close look at Anakin," Mace says. "Well, he was with me for the entire journey to Coruscant, so I think he understands the brevity of this matter clearly." "Dangerous, it is still. A risk, it would be," Yoda adds. "Masters, I trust my Padawan. I don't think there's a better teacher in the galaxy that could take care of him like he does. The connection between them is strong, I can sense it. Being a master takes more than a connection. It takes skill and understanding of the Force," Mace says. "My Padawan, he understands the Force plenty to defeat Maul in battle. Is that good enough, Master Windu?" Mace and Yoda look at each other, both with some hesitation in their eyes. Qui-Gon says that the young Padawan still needs some guidance, but that his fight against Maul was sufficient to pass his normal Padawan trials. He defeated a Sith Lord after all. Yoda ends up being convinced, and Mace as well, with some hesitation. Anakin is brought under the tutelage of Obi-Wan more formally. Meanwhile, Maul is also treated for his injuries, and he's placed in a secure cell at the bottom of the temple. The celebrations continue on Naboo, and the Gungans still make peace with the people of Theed. As the Jedi Temple guards are taking Maul down into the dark chambers of the prisons at the bottom of the Jedi Temple, Qui-Gon follows them. He wants to catch a conversation with the Dark Lord. Maul occasionally glances back at Qui-Gon, hoping that he sees him clearly, and that he can channel his rage to harness the dark side against the Jedi. But Qui-Gon catches him in the act and discreetly tries to strike up a conversation with the Sith Master in his normal, peaceful tone. "You know, Sith, for a second I thought you might have killed me right there. You're one fine swordsman." Qui-Gon attempts to break the awkwardness. Maul doesn't speak. "You know, you could convert to the Jedi." Before he could finish, Maul interrupts. "I'd never be Jedi scum like you." "You wouldn't be? Well, you can't be." Qui-Gon challenges him. Maul sits in silence, trying to shrug off Qui-Gon's comment. "The first time we locked swords, I could sense your pain and hate in every strike, and you harnessed that power to fuel your attacks. I fought many people in the past, but you, Sith, are the most vicious of them all." Maul is flattered by this, but he tries not to show it. He keeps a straight face, covering the pride that he feels. "It's as if you carried the weight of all the fallen Sith souls with every strike of your blade," Qui-Gon tells Maul. Qui-Gon's words touch a part of Maul's past that he didn't want to remember, a long-forgotten memory that forged the swordsman. As they reach the detention cell in the temple, Qui-Gon makes sure that Maul is secured in the cell after the Jedi Temple guards depart. Before he leaves, he says his final goodbyes to the Sith. "Don't worry. Whoever your master is, we'll make sure he won't reach you here. But just so you know, there's this incredibly talented young boy that I found. His midi-chlorians are off the charts, something I haven't seen before. If you would want to teach him, I believe that he could become one of the best warriors in the galaxy." Maul pauses for a moment, looking at Qui-Gon. "If this is true, I'd have to meet this boy myself." Qui-Gon gives a small chuckle to Maul and bids him adieu, telling him that he hopes for the best for the Sith Lord. As Qui-Gon leaves, Maul begins to have flashbacks of his past, triggered by Qui-Gon's words. So the Jedi leaves and he watches as a lightsaber training session between Anakin and Obi-Wan ensues. The young Padawan is still learning forms, and Obi-Wan is doing an excellent job of being patient with him. Qui-Gon smiles, seeing his Padawan being successful in teaching. Obi-Wan would become a far greater Jedi than Qui-Gon could ever be, and for that, the Master is pleased. After many months of training, Anakin begins to become obstinate. He's frustrated by his perceived stagnation, especially since he'd made rapid progression very quickly in the initial months. One day, during Anakin's training, he throws a fit, asking Obi-Wan to teach him more advanced techniques. However, Obi-Wan tries to calm his young Padawan down. Qui-Gon walks by and sees his Padawan struggling. He decides to chime in as a mentor. My, Obi-Wan, what do we have here?" Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan watch Anakin trying to use his lightsabers to deflect 3 training orbs attacking against him all at once and failing. "Master, he insisted to have it this way." Qui-Gon chuckles. "Reminds me of someone." "Well, who's that?" Obi-Wan says. Qui-Gon gives Obi-Wan a look. "Me, Master. I was an excellent Padawan. Nothing like him. In fact, I remember being so by the books that it made you upset." "But you did have your moments. Remember the new weapon idea that you had when you were a youngling?" "The one with the 2 short blades?" "And a chain to tie them. Yes, that one. You insisted that it would be a good idea, and I proved you otherwise." "Yes, Master, indeed you did. I was a naive child once." Both laugh at this, reminiscing on the old times, while Anakin continues to struggle with his advanced training as both masters watch. "You know, Obi-Wan, in all my years of being a Jedi, the most fulfilling years were when I took you as a Padawan, when you were young. They're curious about everything. We as masters are not to force down their curiosity, but to guide it, in my opinion. Anakin is not stubborn, he's just thrilled by the possibilities of the world. Now it's your job to steer him towards being a Jedi." Obi-Wan hears his master out. Obi-Wan then goes to confront the exhausted Anakin and comfort him. By this time, Maul has also started to come around to Qui-Gon's pressure to join the Jedi Order. Seeing his memories far back and how Sidious had treated him really push him to despise the Sith and to want something new for himself. While initially he's not talkative, after visits from Qui-Gon daily, he eventually ends up caving to pressure. Qui-Gon had done this without the explicit permission of the Council, so when they see the demonic Sith Lord walking through the halls of the Jedi Temple, many are initially taken off guard. They chastise Qui-Gon, but he maintains that it's the will of the Force. Dark side users could be reformed, and he believed that Maul could be too. Master Qui-Gon, release Maul, did you? Yoda asks him sternly after summoning him to the Jedi Council chambers. Yes, Qui-Gon replies curtly. He's a prisoner. He tried to kill your apprentice. This is a very rash decision, Mace Windu remarks, shaking his head. Darksiders could be reformed. I discussed this with my Padawan and he's comfortable with the arrangement. I believe that Maul will be a valuable asset to the Jedi Order. The Force has guided me in this direction, and I will continue to follow it, Qui-Gon replies. The council members look at one another. Pray you are correct. I do, Yoda says. Dismissed. You are. After the meeting, Mace stops Qui-Gon as he's walking through the halls of the Jedi Temple. You're on a short leash, Master Jinn. Watch yourself, Mace warns before walking away, leaving Qui-Gon, who remains serene and confident in his direction in the Force. For years, everything seems to progress well for our heroes. Maul starts to integrate well into the Jedi Order, learning the light side and how to deconstruct his traumas from the past. Anakin trains alongside Obi-Wan, and Qui-Gon mentors all of them in how to follow the ways and the will of the Force. However, everything starts to change when the events of Attack of the Clones start. Anakin is still tasked with the protection of Padme in this story, and he still ends up indulging in his desires with her. This leads him to confide in Qui-Gon, who he believes to be somebody that he can truly trust. You know, Anakin, all of us go through it. While it's technically forbidden by the Order, each and every one of us deals with feelings of love. Qui-Gon explains to Skywalker over a holocall after Anakin had told him about his kiss with Padme. Even your master dealt with those feelings, and look at how by the book he is. Anakin smirked, his mouth slightly agape. He's stunned by what Master Qui-Gon is telling him. You mean, it's okay? He asks. Qui-Gon nods a little bit. The Jedi are so uptight, Anakin. As long as you don't let your emotions consume you, and as long as you have healthy mentors to help you along the way, I see no issue with engaging with your feelings, Qui-Gon replies. It's the natural way of things, you know. Thank you for your advice, Master, Anakin says, bowing his head. And kid, don't you worry. I won't tell Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon says as Anakin leaves the call, smirking at his young mentee. When the clones are deployed at Geonosis and the Clone Wars start, Maul starts to receive terrible visions of his old master, Sidious, that he can't seem to fully piece together. There are sprinkles of dark magic and different types of warfare in there, along with all of the Jedi being slaughtered by a mysterious army. Sidious cackles as all of this happens. However, one thing is completely clear. His Dark Master plans to destroy the galaxy. Anakin, Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Maul all become incredibly respected leaders within the Republic military. They fight on many worlds side by side with their clone soldiers. As Anakin soars through the skies in his Jedi Interceptor, commanding the 501st on one of the Outer Rim worlds during the sieges, Maul leads a battalion of troopers on the ground. Obi-Wan and the 212th blast through Separatist defenses, and Qui-Gon fights alongside him. Together, through the sound of blaster fire and the confusion of combat, they're able to lead a successful attack on the Separatists. After the battle, a conference is held between 5 of them and the Jedi Council. They discuss how successful the battle had been, and at the end, Yoda asks if there are any more questions. I have one, Master Yoda, Maul states. He tries to inform the Jedi about his visions with regards to Sidious and Dooku, but they don't listen to him. They can't see past their own noses to the point that the Republic would be controlled by a Sith Lord. Maul starts plotting on his own because of this. Anakin continues to have a romantic relationship with Padme in secret, but he also has Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan to confide in during this time. They know of the visions that he's receiving about her death, just like the ones he'd had of his mother, which he had told him about, and they tell him to relax and allow the Force to work its will. They warn Anakin that trying to control the Force for his own gain is dangerous, so instead that he should let it flow through him and trust whatever lessons the Force is trying to teach him. When the 5 of them return to Coruscant, Maul ends up booking an appointment with the Chancellor in order to inform him on the progress of the Outer Rim sieges. He has an opportunity to speak with Palpatine one-on-one about the situation of the campaign that he is currently conducting. This is all part of Maul's plan. Obviously, when Maul is in the room, there are Senate guards there, but nobody else. Maul starts by updating the Chancellor on his exploits when he arrives, and then he ignites his lightsaber and throws the Senate guards against the wall with the Force, knocking them unconscious. Sidious smiles, saying that he had sensed Maul's deception. He'd only kept him alive over the years because he had known that he would come back to him with his dark side and replace Dooku. Perhaps Maul could even help train the one that Sidious truly wanted to be his apprentice, Anakin Skywalker. He had been purposely giving Maul these ridiculous and terrible visions, hoping that he would come to the realization about Palpatine all on his own. Now, Maul stood before him with his lightsaber ignited, and Palpatine grins with an evil malice. This was where the fun would begin. Meanwhile, in the Jedi Temple, Qui-Gon, while he's meditating beside Anakin and Obi-Wan following one of their battle campaigns, senses that Maul is in danger. He immediately snaps out of his meditative state and he starts running towards Maul in Palpatine's office. Obi-Wan and Anakin are shocked and they quickly follow suit. They don't often use force speed, but they have to in order to keep up with the determined Master Jinn. They hop in a speeder together and reach Palpatine's office just in time to see Maul standing above the Dark Lord with his lightsaber ignited and the yellow glow of the Sith present in his eyes. They have to convince him to stand down and remember his Jedi training. Maul tells them that this had been the Sith Lord that the Council had been looking for all along, and that now he could see everything. Palpatine had been pulling all of the strings, and he just admitted it to Maul. He needed to die. Qui-Gon tells Maul that he believes him, but that he must stand down. Palpatine deserved a fair trial, and the Force needed to do its will. Once again, Maul was trying to take the Force into his own hands. After a few seconds, Maul sighs, lowering his lightsaber. He knows that Qui-Gon is right, and he knows that this is not the Jedi way. He knows that mercy needed to be given to his tormentor. It's at this time that Palpatine cackles, knowing that he can take on all of these Jedi at once and frame them for attacking him first. He fires a blast of lightning at Maul in the back, who's looking at Qui-Gon, which catches the Dathomirian off guard. Then he pulls his red saber from his belt and stabs Maul through the heart, before saying, "It's treason then." He then turns his attention to the other three Jedi, who are well poised to fight him. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan duel him ferociously, but in the end, it's Anakin who fulfills the prophecy of the Chosen One. While Master Jinn and Master Kenobi dance eloquently with the Sith Lord in a blur that Anakin can barely see, he pushes the Chancellor out the window with the Force, throwing him down, 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 deep into the depths of Coruscant. The Chancellor was caught off guard by this attack, not knowing that Anakin would be so powerful with the Force. The Chancellor then dies, hitting the ground with a massive thud, unable to stop his descent with the Force because of his distraction and his fatigue from the battle. The Chancellor is dead, and so is Maul. With Palpatine dead, the galaxy begins to settle down. Palpatine dies before he's able to execute Order 66, and the Jedi Order lives on. With Palpatine dead, Anakin no longer sees the visions of Padme's death. His children are born safely, and he decides to leave the Order to be with Padme after the war and train them in his own way. He parts amicably with the Jedi Order, saying that he doesn't fully line up with their teachings and beliefs, and he knows that he can no longer abide by their code. Yoda understands and respects this decision, telling Anakin that he wishes him the best as he leaves. Anakin doesn't want his children growing up the same way that he did in the Order. He wants to show them that there is more to the Force than just the dogmatic ways of the Jedi. Qui-Gon applauds Anakin's decision, and as he passes on into the Force, he eventually teaches Obi-Wan and Yoda how to do the same thing. In this scenario, Qui-Gon had a long enough time to preserve his entire essence, not just his voice. And so he's able to come back and help everybody in the Jedi Order and all of his mentees with what they're enduring in the physical realm. When the Jedi momentarily seize control of the Senate after Maul's demise, they immediately return it to Mas Amedda, who calls for an election. Bail Organa puts his name forward, and he ends up winning the chancellorship. Under his leadership, a practical treaty is negotiated with the Separatists. With his master dead, Dooku resigns to the fact that he will never rule the galaxy in full. However, he does end up with a small pocket of space that the Confederacy can call its own, free of Republic jurisdiction. The galaxy is safe and secure, and things begin to look up for the Republic, the Separatists, the Jedi Order, Anakin Skywalker, and everybody else in our story. Hey there everyone, now's the period of our video where we transition into the Ask Anything segment from the Discord server. Today our question is from Lord Vitiate, who's asking, will you do crossovers with different franchises like Marvel and Star Wars and stuff like that in the future? That's a possibility. At this point, we haven't really discussed that possibility. We're working on exclusively Star Wars content for the most part, with again some of the real world stuff sprinkled in every once in a while for a fun little flavor for you guys. However, right now our focus is primarily on Star Wars content. We'll see in the future though. It is a possibility. I will make no promises, but we might, and I think that it would be a very interesting topic to explore. Thank you all for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, I would highly recommend that you check out this other video, which is going to be linked at the end of this one. I would also recommend that each and every one of you join the Discord server if you're interested in interacting with me and other crazy Star Wars fans like yourselves. We have built up a fantastic community of active viewers of our channel, and it's just such a blast in the Discord. We always have great conversations, and it's a safe space to explore any topic, Star Wars or not. So please, join if you are interested. I hope that each and every one of you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day, and as always, I hope that you've had your daily delicious dose of Bantha Stew.